back to another video. So, regarding my last video, wasn't really well received. Um, and that's kind of due to me, I guess my little complaints with the DLC weren't really clear. Some were due to just not understanding the actual weapon itself, or just, I don't know. But just making this little video today, just to clear some things up and show off some problems with the game, or DLC, however you want to call it. But yeah, so I've compiled a list in my Discord. Some of it is from some of my Discord users, or in my community, whatever. And mostly some are from me, from my little testing. These are just things I've found out, so if they don't affect you, then let me know. If they do, feel free to comment. If you think they're not a problem, debate it, I guess. I don't know. Trying to be civil. People in the last video weren't really civil. Of insults. Sure, not very nice. But, whatever. So, first problem. Weight blocks are, according to the devs, supposed to be weight blocks. Or at least to the admin that I asked yesterday. So, what I got here is I got them separated from the main body on a pivot. And I got one layer of weight block and one layer of regular blocks. This is basically the maximum armor you're going to put in a vehicle. I don't see you putting 3 or 2 layers of weight blocks and then 2 layers of regular blocks in a vehicle or a tank or anything that needs to be bigger than this to stop around. And of course, weight blocks have this really terrible texture. As you can see, all these gray diamonds are not something you really want to just cover a whole vehicle in just to make it deflect around, which it probably won't if you're using a battle cannon, which I'll show you now. So right here, I got a kinetic shell, as you can see at the bottom. I need infinite electricity on. Alright, breach is open. Load that in. And so according to the devs, the kinetic round is the most basic round. So, from my understanding, should it really be able to penetrate the weight blocks? Obviously, it won't go past the weight blocks into the other block. That's what the AP is for, but still, I thought weight blocks are supposed to, stop around instead of not just, well, you'll see. If you saw my last video, though, you'll know what this does. So click that button. You'll see the weight blocks actually got damaged. And the other side is damaged. So I'm really confused, because what's the point of the weight blocks being armor if they can't even protect the block at the rear of here with the most basic round, which is a kinetic round, which says it just does basic impact damage, but it has nothing to do about penetration, which is what you would need to get through a weight block or armor. But it apparently doesn't work. Not really sure. Another thing about the battle cannon, the breach opens outward. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. That just doesn't seem safe. Because, you got what looks to be possibly 75, maybe 90 mil cannon. And you're trying to contain that blast outward. Because when you fire a gun or cannon, you're going to have a lot of force this way and a ton of force this way. Because of, Newton's law or whatever. Most breaches have their cannon moving down, up, side to side, but not really back. Because usually you want to load the round in this way. Of course, if you got small caliber, you can probably get away with that. But I guess it's just for usability, to actually get the feeder in and then put the round in. Some of the different shells are HE, Frag, and AP. We can show off the AP. HE and Frag seem to also penetrate the weight blocks, which I don't really think they should, if weight blocks are indeed supposed to be armor. So we'll just fire that. You'll see it does actually penetrate the back. Not sure how many blocks it can penetrate. Looks like it did penetrate the back as well, so it's somewhere over there. Alright. I don't know. That's just something that confuses me. I don't get why the weight blocks are supposed to be armored, yet, they can be penetrated by a kinetic round or a HE round. I don't know. Alrighty, on to the next problem. We're going to go to my M3 Lee, which I have been currently trying to get, basically converted up to the weapons DLC, which has caused a little bit of problems. I'll go over that right now. So if we head inside, and, lots of ammo everywhere. What we're looking at is the 2 machine guns that I have in the hull. There's also one up top, but whatever. Obviously the engine will start without cranking it, but that's not really the point. If I go to the front MGs, and I, of course, load that, you'll see they only have 50 rounds. And of course, they fire it at around, what I've guessed is about 600 RPM. So that's about 10 rounds per second. So if I hold down the trigger on the driver's seat, that's all you get. And then you have to do the painstaking task of going back, grabbing a box, putting it on the thing. You get 5 more seconds to fire. And then you have to do the whole thing over again. Machine guns are usually known for having a high capacity of rounds, so I don't know. It basically means that wing mounts are basically useless with using a machine gun. You'd probably have to use a cannon. But then again, the drum mags are huge, so good luck getting that through a wing. With still making it work, at least. But yeah. The ammo capacity of the machine guns are way too low. That at least needs to be 100 or even 200, maybe even 500. I don't really know why, like, what we would do with 50 rounds. Just doesn't seem like a lot. Of course, they spew casings, which is pretty neat, I guess. Oh, that's painter. But yeah. Alrighty, next problem, hitboxes. You'll see I'll pull out this battle cannon and place it right there. You'll see if I hover over it with the X tool, or the delete key, you'll see that there's actually extra hitboxes on the side. You have 2 blocks here and 1 block at the rear. This kind of makes it really difficult to actually fit anything behind it. And I get that there's supposed to be a little ammo tray or magazine that connects into here. But actually, that's the ejection. But yeah, I don't see why you would want to do that. And of course, here, who's going to put anything behind the gun anyway? Of course, you have all these blocks here. But maybe these 2 hitboxes or right here aren't really that big of a deal. But this one, it makes the whole cannon basically 3 blocks tall, of course, and then however long it is. 11 blocks. Of course, you can just cut all these out, and you would have a way better fitting cannon. You'd probably fit a recoil mechanism, because these don't actually recoil when you fire the weapon. It would just solve so many problems if these were a little bit smaller. That's another issue with a lot of the blocks in the update that are way too oversized. Let's see if I go into the 37mm turret. Let's see, most of the space is taken up by a drum mag and the actual autocannon, which is the heavy autocannon. Supposed to simulate a 37mm. Of course, this just, I don't know. This used to have a loader seat right here. Had to remove that just to fit in the drum mag. And of course, we also have this extra mag, or extra block here. Although, I guess that's where the bolt goes, so that's fine. But yeah, if these weapons could just be 1 by 11. Wait, oh yeah, 1 by 11. That would be a lot better than all of this. They'd be easier to fit in your vehicles, take up less space, of course. You'd be able to fit in cameras, a recoil system possibly, depending on the size of your mantlet. So much more. But that's really it for that, so moving on. So, speaking of the autocannon, like I said, it takes up a lot of space, filling up this entire turret, which used to have an interior, but not anymore. The actual 37mm was only like 2 blocks from this camera for the breach. And of course you had the stabilization that was down there, but I didn't add that in. And that was it. You had all this free space over here for the loader to actually get around in. This, however, and the ammo drums take up about 2 by 3 blocks of space, and then you also have to have the corner ammo and the autocannon. Another thing I've also found out is if you put a feeder here, since it's on autocannon, you probably need an ammo feeder. The heavy autocannon doesn't actually need a feeder. If you place one down, the gun just doesn't cycle. It doesn't fire. It's a neat thing I found. So yeah, autocannon, heavy autocannon, you don't need a feeder for whatever reason. Thought you would have, because all of the other cannons you need one to actually make them work. But I guess that's fine. But yeah, ammunition is way too big. You'll see if I pick this up, I get a little box that you can just put back, or you can put it in another drum. But you really need more low caliber, because of course the 75 down there, 90 mil, whatever it is in game, a little bit too big, and I would like something that has a little bit less power, but maybe a little bit easier to reload and store ammo, because this is just ridiculous. And of course the only way to actually fit this in the turret, oh, I just shot the cannon, okay. Just gonna turn this way. You'll see if I press the fire button, the ejection port is right here. And that kind of gets the way with the seat. I'm not sure why this doesn't have a hitbox for the ejection port, but the battle cannon does. I don't really understand that, but whatever. Alright, next problem. Back to the MGs. I should have mentioned this while I was on there. There is no way to change the fire rate. You see that just fires at a high fire rate. And when we're only given 50 rounds, it does make it a little bit difficult to actually make those fire. It would be nice if we had a little slider or something of the sort to actually change the fire rate, or maybe even the muzzle velocity of the cannons. So let's say maybe I want to make this an artillery cannon. Artillery cannons usually have a low muzzle velocity, so they can kind of arc around stuff. So if I were to load this with an HE, there should be a way to actually edit the muzzle velocity, so when I fire, it won't just disappear into the air. It'll actually curve down eventually and maybe hit behind the mountain or just in front of it. Something like that would be nice. Of course, that ejects right there. Right there. Alright, so you'll see trigger, open breach, and loaded. So it says true. There is no way to actually automatically close the breach unless you're using an auto-feeding system. So if you're doing this manually, I had to hook this up to the seat, so when I get out of the seat, it'll take out the shell. And then of course you load it, and then you get back to the seat, and then fire. I didn't want to put a button somewhere, just because that would look a little bit out of place. So my problem is that there's no way to actually tell if there's a round in here. It only loads true if there is a round actually pushed into the breach. So let's say, I got an auto breach system there. I put the round in. Game would detect the round in, and then that will signal the microcontroller to actually close the breach. However, you cannot do that because, of course, it only acts as loaded when the breach is closed. And of course, I can just go ahead and fire that with the touchscreen. Another problem with the cannons, of course, are the barrels are not able to be painted. This kind of looks out of place as I have a camouflage vehicle with a black barrel. It'd be very nice to actually, you know, camouflage the barrel or paint them or any sort of doing that. Although I guess it is good night camouflage, but who's going to be fighting at night? Another problem, if I take a barrel, take the battle cannon extension, every barrel has a chamfer on the end of it. So if I were to back this up, you'll see if I place down all these barrel blocks, make a super long one, you'll see every time the barrel ends, you'll have this little indentation in the barrel. Obviously, it doesn't really look bad from afar, but as you get closer, you can see it a little bit more clearly. And I don't get why you wouldn't just make it flush with the actual next barrel. I mean, it looks good on its own right here, but we're just going to place the block there. Then that gets a little weird. Alrighty, the last problem I want to point out with the DLC, well, one of the last problems. If I pull out a warhead and a button, of course, place that down and give a little bit of distance to it. Pick that up, and it's now raining. Ooh. Turn on instant electricity so I can actually get the button to work. You'll see if I actually hit the button here, when the warhead explodes, it is still present. You'll see it's all grayed out with the damage texture. Shut up, mission. But yeah, it gets destroyed with the texture and doesn't despawn. This could probably cause a little bit of issues with multiplayer, you know. Probably not, but the DLC did actually improve multiplayer a little bit. Obviously, it's still terrible and a lot desync and everything. But, you know, it's working a lot better, so I applaud the devs for that. But the warheads don't disappear upon actually exploding, although that could just be the limitation, because if that disappears, then it might despawn the whole vehicle. That's probably not preferable, but it would be nice just to see if the warheads might have a way to actually despawn themselves. Yikes, look at the physics on that. Why can't they just make it one solid one? Why is it not generated as one solid piece? Interesting. Whatever. But yeah. The last problem, it's not really a problem, it's more of a balancing issue. I have heard from members in my Discord that the battle cannon disappears after 3 kilometers, so that's about the max range. That could just be from the tracer burning out. I haven't really tested it, so it might actually be able to go above 3 kilometers, and then just, you know, tracer stops so you can't see it, but it'll still impact something. Not sure about that. We'll have to do more testing. Might also do some more testing with the penetration of the different weapons. And of course also release my M3 Lee with the weapons DLC. But yeah, that's really it. If you disagree with anything in the video, leave a comment down below. Try to be nice, because people in the last video weren't really that nice. But yeah. That's really for this vehicle. That's really for this video, so I'll see you in part 2 if I decide to make a part 2. That is, if I can actually find enough problems with DLC. If not, oh well. Personally, I'm kind of enjoying it. My last video was kind of, I don't know. All my anger from all the past actions of the game have just been boiling out of me in the last video, so I was a little bit angry. I'm actually kind of impressed. This is not the worst update the devs have ever done. Um, Bugs are being fixed. There's actually not many, as I would have expected. Of course, when did release, there was the bug with the RPS, and there was also a problem with merging. You would merge an item and then you'd crash. It seems like the devs also fixed that while recording this video. So yeah, that's really it. I'm gonna work on my M3 Lee and the Grant version. At least that. Maybe do a Calliope version of my Sherman. Work on a little bit of other projects, and then move to the Abrams. Get that working with the weapon DLC, possibly, or not. I don't know. But yeah, that's really it for this video. So I'll see you in part 2 if that happens, or just in the next video I do. Yeah.